What is going on, everybody? Today we will be reacting to the rise and fall of Grow Garden exposed by Coel. I will link their channel down in the comments, in the description of this video. Let's get going.
This is a chart of Grow Garden's total player count after it was released. And as you guys can see, the game has fallen off majorly. It went from being the most popular...
A lot. It's got so bad to the point where Grow Garden isn't even the owner anymore. Or Jandal isn't even the owner of the game. If you guys check, it's owned by some guy named David.
Game in Roblox's history by a massive amount to now falling down to just the sixth most popular game on the platform and rapidly losing millions of players. The game went from having a peak of over 20 million players at one single time to now barely passing over 300,000 at
It can't even handle 100,000 CCU.
Their highest. The game has died majorly, to barely passing a tenth of that. In today's video, I'll be explaining why Grow Garden has died completely and the rise and fall of Grow a Garden, which was once the most popular game in Roblox's history, but is now growing hated by the community and...
It was literally bigger in Stila Brain Rot at the time of when the admin war was going on. So yeah, that's a little fun fact.
Losing millions of players. But real quick, feel free to like this video and subscribe. It'd mean the world to me. But either way, let's get right into the story of Grow a Garden. Now, Grow a Garden was released on April 10th of 2025, just about 7 or so months ago at the time I've made this video. And not too much later after the game started blowing up, a well-known developer by the name of Jandal purchased the game and got full ownership of it along with some investors called Do Big Studios. These people basically got the game, they took over the game, and they started doing a lot of special things. This game was very different than most of the other viral games on Roblox. Instead of being just the same thing as everything else, it was something very original and an original idea that truly gave it massive success. And so as the player count grew, you guys may notice on the chart of the game, in the early days, there would be significant spikes every single Saturday. That is because every Saturday on Grow a Garden, for weeks and weeks, there would be a massive new update that brought a lot of things into the game. You see, the thing that makes Grow a Garden special is everything you have in your garden, you have to buy from a store, which resets about every 5 minutes. Now, this was a feature that this game basically popularized. It might not have been the first ever to do this, but it was one of the first games to actually do a sort of feature where players would have to wait for a restock to hopefully get the rare items in the store. So basically every single Saturday in the game, there would be a massive update called an admin abuse event, and a lot of rare things would restock, meaning a lot of people flowed into the game at the same time. At its very peak, the game got over 20 million players on a single Saturday, which was absolutely unheard of. Before this game, no Roblox game had even surpassed 5 million or 3 million, or barely even surpassed a million players at all. Grow a Garden was really one of the first games to truly surpassed that massive milestone of 1 million players consistently, and it ended up holding onto that massive player count for months, up until about September of 2025. Now the thing is, Grow a Garden was special because it was so unique. The game was something anyone could play. There was so many people, and I bet you could ask your friends who don't even play Roblox if they knew of Grow a Garden, and they probably have. They've probably seen it on their TikTok For You page at its peak. They probably even chose to play it, because this game did not just feel like a Roblox game, it felt like a real fully fleshed out game that people outside of Roblox wouldn't understand, but it was a game that anyone could get and anyone could enjoy. So basically, the success of this game was unprecedented. The game rapidly gained billions of visits. As of today, the game has over 33 billion visits, and looking at the chart, the game would literally pull on some days almost 500 million visits in a single day. That is insane. The amount of fame that this game had was generational. It was actually supposedly the biggest game in the world of all time in terms of highest player counts. It passed Fortnite's record, it passed Counter-Strike's record, it passed pretty much any big game in history. This Roblox game had more. Now the thing is, all good things do come to an end, and as I mentioned, the game has pretty much died out and is only pulling a fraction of that player count. The thing is, this weekly update schedule was one of the things that resulted in the major as much as it was a thing that made it special and gave it its massive virality and the news stories that were posted talking about the record player counts, it also eventually ended up killing the game in a way. You see, as a developer of a game, there's only so many ideas you can add to a game before people start to get bored or move to other games, or you just don't have that good things to add. Imagine you're playing a game and every single week there's a brand new update, and then the updates just start to be worse and worse, or they have less and less features. You wouldn't want to play it as much, and you would start to not even want to play that much. And the thing is, as developers, these guys were releasing weekly updates for months, for multiple months. months, and imagine how much work that must have taken. And so, eventually, at one point, after many updates were added to the game, the updates started to become significantly less crazy. There would be less features coming in, and some updates would just feel like they were the same thing over and over. And this made the community very, very mad. Now, this was not the only reason the game was dying, but this was one of the things that started to spark the hatred for the game. Now, the thing is, in the early days of the game, there was a lot of things the game was missing that these updates also brought in. Like, for example, the trading update, which I'll talk about in just a moment. But features like this made the update special and brought in new things, but when they started to just re-release basically the same update or just brand new like items but no actual new like gameplay features that changed the gameplay, less and less people played the game, less and less. There was no reason to really hop on all the time and become the best, to hop on every Saturday or hop on more, because there wouldn't really be anything special to work for, and overall the updates would just get worse and worse. But you see, one of the things that also, in my opinion, resulted in the death of the game is also the issue of how much it took to get rare things and to get better at the game. You see, if you don't play the game consistently or you weren't paying enough attention, then you won't be able to really like get better at the game. Because of that restock feature where only certain rare things are only in for like a certain amount of time in the game, anyone who's a casual player can't just hop on and level up. They have to try to like pay attention, get like a notification thing to like tell them when a new thing's in stock, or just keep joining over and over and over to hopefully get lucky and join when something rare is in the shop. Unless you're actually a tryhard who pays attention to all the things coming out in the store, it's going to be really hard to catch those rare things you want to get, and at that certain point you're just sort of capped out. So that resulted in certain underground things happening, like people literally selling seeds for the game on like eBay and stuff like that, which is completely against Roblox's rules and also probably a scam. So now you guys sort of understand the issue with this updates feature, but also due to the game being so special, a lot of the brand new things they introduced weren't really like, you know, only in Grow a Garden, because a lot of other games started to copy it. Most of the games following that would blow up right afterwards would be certain games that took a lot of inspiration from Grow a Garden. For example, most of the games that went viral right after, like even Steal a Brainrot, have a feature that is very similar to Grow a Garden's restock feature. After Grow a Garden's massive success, a lot of games just started to copy the things that would work. For example, the massive admin abuse events that would bring in millions of players to them, where the admin would give away a bunch of free like rare stuff and it'd be like a crazy event with a bunch of effects. This would be quickly copied by other games that would blow up right afterwards, like Steal a Brainrot, who would basically just do the exact same thing in their own fashion. At one point, Grow a Garden and Steal a Brainrot collaborated, but still, like, it was still basically copying the same idea because it was not the first game to do it. But the thing is, there's another feature I want to mention that also ruined the community aspect of the game. The thing that made Grow a Garden
can we go back on that tweet? I want to see what it says.
Where the admin would give away a bunch of free like rare stuff and it'd be like a crazy event with a bunch of effects. This would be quickly copied by other games that would blow up right afterwards, like Steal a Brainrot, who would basically just do the exact same thing in their own fashion. At one point, Grow a Garden and Steal a Brainrot.
What does it say? Challenge accepted with Jandal's Twitter handle. Good boy Sammy will show you what admin abuse is. That's in quotes, by the way. Nobody clip that. I'd be happy to match your wager and donate to Team Water as well, regardless of who wins. See you on Saturday at 3 p.m. EST.
Collaborated, but still, like, it was still basically copying the same idea because it was not the first game to do it. But the thing is, there's another feature I want to mention that also ruined the community aspect of the game. The thing that made Grow a Garden special, you know, growing your garden, making a beautiful garden and showing it off, had a major issue that was ruined by what the developers had in the game, even without their knowing, and that most people probably couldn't expect. You see, in Grow a Garden, when you play the game and you have your garden, you have like a bunch of plants inside of it that grow. Pretty simple explanation, I hope you guys understand. But there's a feature where someone else can come to your garden, spend a little, very cheap amount of Robux, and steal one of your plants. And it's the exact same amount of Robux for every single plant. You can go up to anything, even if it's something extremely rare, and steal it for a set amount of Robux. Which means if you're someone who has spent hours and hours, like waiting to get a rare seed, or spending a ton of time sitting in the game trying to get like a mutation, attending a bunch of admin abuses and stuff like that, and getting something worth a ton of money to show off to all your friends, one of them could just steal it, leave the game, and hold on to it and keep it forever. That is one of the major issues that ruins the aspect of growing the garden and makes it to a more dangerous.
That's very true, by the way, because that stuff did happen to me a lot while my time on Grow Garden. That's just wanted to put that out there.
Game to play unless you're playing it by yourself. Luckily, of course, the game does have private servers, but still, it ruins the point because at the game's base, you want to show off what you have spent all that time grinding to and growing and making. Now, the thing is, these are the main reasons why I think the game is dying overall, but obviously there is one thing I do want to mention that I've seen a lot of people talk about when they're talking about the downfall of the game that I haven't mentioned yet, and that is actually just people going to school. You see, the thing is, Grow a Garden is mostly played by kids who are in school and they have to, you know, go to school and they don't have that much free time time to go to these events. They don't have as much free time to play games like this. So you guys can sort of tell, like, summer started
That's
ending,
true. I
it's
am
like
in
September
school.
and stuff like that, and that's also when the
And I
game
don't
started to
really
die.
have that much
Personally,
free
I do
time
not
either.
think this is the main
Going
reason
into,
why.
I'm not gonna say the grade.
However, there is something I'm going to mention
I'm
in just a
gonna have
second
a
that
lot
brought a
less free
lot of
time
hate to
to
the
upload
game
videos
similar to
and
this.
to
But
do
obviously,
stuff like
it
this
is
for
a
y'all.
good point that the game
Hope y'all
did take a
understand.
lot of damage due to school starting and a lot of the players not having time to attend the
I'll
big
say something
events.
at the
And
end of
that's
this
the
video
thing.
after I
These big
shout out this,
events would
after
always
I shout
happen
out
at
this
the
channel.
exact same time. They would always happen at a certain time in the day, which would usually be around in the morning time in America, maybe a little bit earlier, and so everyone would come on at the same time. Basically, most of these would line up in the mornings in America or, midday in the UK, but obviously people worldwide played this game. And of course, not everyone's schedule is the same. So the chances of everyone catching this, like these updates, especially during school season when everyone has to be up and available at a certain time, it's very easy to tell where the issue could come up. So as I mentioned, as school started to start up for most people, it'd be a lot harder to catch these massive admin abuse events, and so they would start to have less and less people arriving. I'm guessing that the admin abuses that will do very well are going to be ones on when it's break time for most people, it's like winter break or Thanksgiving break, stuff like that.
Thank you
It's
to
likely when
Sammy
the
for
most players
doing
will
the
come. But
admin
still, the
abuses on
thing
the
is,
weekday,
everyone coming on at the same
weekends,
time is
because we
something way
have free
harder
time
when
to do that
everyone's going to be
stuff,
busy.
but
And the
still have
last reason the
plans.
game has been getting so
So
much hate as well
it's not
is
really
similar to
that much
that,
free
but
time,
it's
but at
also
least we're
how
not in school
messy the
for like
times
8
have been
hours,
for
6
these
hours,
admin abuses.
whatever
It seems sort of like the
winter or
developers are
times when
having
you're in,
trouble trying to figure out what
depending on
exactly the
school you're
perfect
in.
time for these events are, because
I'm
I'll just
in
put it
school
in
for like 8 hours a
perspective
day,
of the East
so
Coast to United States
the
time. You guys
weekends are
can
a lot better.
translate that to whatever you'd like, but mainly, for example, most events were happening at about 9 a.m. EST. That's when most admin abuses are. That's a regular time. However, the update from last week was planned to happen instead at 6 a.m. EST, and the admin abuse would start at 5 a.m. EST. However, as they hyped up for this, and a lot of people got up extra early, because even on the west coast of the United States, that's 3 a.m. and the admin abuse starts at 2 a.m. That is a very early time and is a big difference from the usual time. And the thing is, people ended up being very, very angry because after they mentioned this time, about 5 or 6 hours later, it was pushed back to the regular time. So anyone that was waking up extra early to join this update and go to the admin abuse had basically just woken up early for no reason, and a lot of people got very, very angry, posting about it on social media. Of course, there's a big chance that this wasn't the developer's fault, but it still was something that made a lot of people very angry, and things
That
like
made me
this
mad,
brought a lot of
honestly.
issues. So overall, those
I
are
was
most
so
of the
mad.
reasons why the game is dying. And as sad as it is, this is also just an inevitable thing with Roblox games. This is just kind of how it goes. Roblox games will eventually die unless it's something that is completely brand new every time people play it, which is pretty much impossible. Every game sort of dies over time because unless there are brand new massive updates coming all the time, it's really hard to keep a massive amount of players that you had at your peak. Even, for example, Steal a Brain Rot, which was massive, is in fact pulling less players than it used to and is falling off massively. That's just kind of how it works. These games will never fully die, but they will lose a lot of their players because people will eventually get bored of playing the same thing over and over. Because, as cool as Grow Garden is, it can end up getting
This guy's
pretty
speaking
boring
facts
playing the
right
same
now.
game and hoping these things will work out. And when the developers do things to annoy you, it's way easier for fans to just leave the game to play something else. So overall, that's the rise and the fall of Grow a Garden. What was once the most popular game on all of Roblox, now pulling a fraction of the player base. Do you guys think it will come back? Do you guys think these reasons are overblown? Do you guys think everyone's gonna come back next summer or something? Or what do you guys think? Tell me in the comments down below. But either way, that's gonna be it. Hope you guys have an amazing day and take care.
Big shout out to Coel for this amazing video. I will make sure to link him in the comments, or actually the description of this video. That is all for now. Tata, go subscribe.